Hey there, everybody. Gonna let the chat roll in. Nothing much has changed over on my end. Remember last week I couldn't play any games because my computer was out of commission. And it's still out of commission. I sent it into the shop and it has yet to come back. I'm communicating with the repair guy. They think that it's going to be an easy fix, but they're still fiddling with it, so I don't have anything to play games on today. So today's broadcast is going to be another hour-long episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings. Just me, here in my hat with the cigar, just doing what I always do. You got questions, I've got answers, and we'll try to pick up with the games next week. I'm pretty sure I'll have my computer back by then, but no guarantees. We'll see. I'm hard at work on a new video. Of course, there's a lot that has happened the past week with the announcement of the Fallout Season 2 trailer, which I covered in a dedicated video a week ago today. I've got a new video coming out. It's probably going to be Saturday, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. But otherwise, if there's any Fallout news you want to discuss, anything at all that's on your mind, let me know. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch today. Good to see everyone all over the place. The hip-hop-opotamus, Eldu24, Verixen557 on Twitch. We've got Toby Noble, Robin Woodell on Facebook. And, of course, all of the regulars and the members and the Patreon supporters on YouTube today. Paladin Dance's Girlfriend, Alt Grendel, The Magic Q, Automatic Beats, Bubs Abides, Jonathan Rodriguez, Sergeant Sarcasm, Josh Bunton, Wayne Azing, Wyoming Homesteader, KT, Upside Dawn Owl. Nice. So good to have you on the show today. And with the first super chat of the day today, it's Alt Grendel who says, they're testing it by playing Minesweeper. They're testing what? My computer. That was the tie-in. Yeah, well, I mean, as we all know, it's a graphically intense game. Lots of databases with numbers. At least 1, 2, and sometimes 3. So, yeah, well, hopefully they'll be able to stress test it with Minesweeper and things will turn out right. Thank you all, Grendel. Today I am smoking a brick. And yes, it looks like a brick. It's a box-pressed cigar, so it has a rectangular shape. But it's also called the brick. And it was on sale. These are typically out of my budget because they're good medium shelf cigars, and I go through cigars pretty quickly, so I try not to buy the most expensive ones. That would get really expensive. But these were on sale. There was a promotion, and so I got quite a few boxes, and I'm happy about that. Also drinking some rum and coke. Cheers. And Scotch. This is 12-year-old Glenfiddich. Ash Nobody says, did you have any interest in collecting the Magic the Gathering Fallout cards? I've managed to collect all the ones I've wanted. Hey, that's awesome, Nobody. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. For me, I've never been big on collecting cards. And I realize this isn't something that somebody should get upset about. But they make me frustrated and even a little bit angry. And I realize that that's my problem. That's a problem with me. It's a defect of my character. I'm not going to impose that on you. But any kind of swag from a company, any sort of branded swag that is exclusively made from paper, I feel is lazy. Especially when they charge an arm and a leg for it. So I typically don't collect things like posters and lithographs and trading cards, because literally all they do is pay some artist to draw some art, and then they're just printing money. They'll take a poster and they'll say, oh, this is a limited edition. We're only going to make 300 of these. And then they'll charge $60 or $70 for the poster. Or it'll be a card deck and they'll say, you have a 0.3% chance of getting Elder Maxon in power armor, so buy all the decks. And that stuff just annoys me. I realize that it's a hobby for many people, and I'm not judging you, but for me, I don't want to collect paper. I can get paper anytime, right? I prefer props and collectibles that have, a little bit of substance to them. I sound like an insane. I get it. All right, fine. That's just me, though. That's just me. But I'm glad you found the cards you liked. Thank you for sharing. I do appreciate it. Greg Hinojo says, hello, Ox and chat. Hey there, Greg. So good to see you on the program today. Anarchist69 says, gingerbread man makes bed with cookie sheet. I said it. Now that is a hot take, because cookie sheets go in the oven where it's hot. Thank you, Anarchist69. Chen Yang says, hey, Ox, good evening. Sorry about the last stream. I was being sarcastic. When am I going to meet, or when I'm going to meet Courtney Taylor? Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't know you were being sarcastic at first. I thought you were genuinely going to see her, and I thought that was great. Congratulations. But then I saw your later subsequent message where you said that you were joking, and I'm like, oh, okay. But, good joke. Good joke then, I guess. But still, if anybody saw Courtney Taylor or any of the other voice actors from the Fallout franchise, that would be amazing, right? That's totally something you can brag about. And you're not actually going to make me jealous. I've met a number of people who have worked on Fallout before, and it's always been a wonderful thing. I don't sit here craving to meet them all. If I meet them, I meet them. That's awesome. That would be awesome. Nobody says, all good, Ox. It's a very expensive habit. But I love my dog meat and Liberty Prime Surge foils. Those are the pieces of paper that are printed with a little bit of thin metal on them. Are those the foils? I'm glad you love it. I'm glad you have a hobby, and I'm not judging in any way. It's just not a hobby for me. I'm not even really terribly. I know people really get up in arms about official props when it comes to collecting. They'll only buy things that were officially licensed or officially made by the developer, and then they keep them in their boxes because to retain their value. I've never been that kind of collector. I've got a ton of crap over here. And some of it is official Bethesda gear, and a lot of it is just handmade gear by fans who make it and sell it on Etsy. And that's kind of the stuff I like the best because they put a lot of artistic heart into it, and sometimes they're even better quality than the stuff that comes out from Bethesda. And I always take them out of the box. I'm like, why am I going to buy it if I'm just going to leave it in the box? I know for some things it makes sense to leave it in the box because they legitimately are really expensive collector's items, like old Star Wars toys and stuff like that. But for Fallout stuff, I want to be able to enjoy it. So I always take it out of the box, I throw the boxes away, and then I put them on my shelf where I can enjoy them every day. That's how I enjoy my collectibles. AI Radio says, I wasn't really a big fan about them recasting Mr. House. I feel like Raffi Silver wouldn't have been a better pick than replacing him with Justin Theroux. I'm not a big fan of recasting actors, period, once they're cast. If I had to choose between Justin Theroux or Raffi Silver, I'd pick Justin. I think he looks more like Mr. House, and then listening to his voice and the way that he moved his mouth and the way he held himself, I feel like he makes a better House. Now, we only saw a couple of glimpses of him from the Season 2 trailer, so perhaps he's awful and there's not enough footage to be able to correctly judge him. But we got everything we needed to from the Mr. House as he was cast in Season 1. And even at the time, I felt like the casting was wrong for Mr. House. He didn't look like Mr. House, and he looked too young. I expected Mr. House to be seasoned. Not elderly, but seasoned. And Raffi Silver doesn't look seasoned. He looks youthful. And I don't think House should look youthful. Justin Theroux looks seasoned. And that's not meant as an insult. It's meant as a compliment. So I think the casting is great from everything that I gather. But on principle, I genuinely dislike it, or generally dislike it when they recast people. Daniel Knight 2006 with a super tip. Pardon me. Thank you, Daniel Knight. Willful Abides on Twitch says, "What's up? What's up, Willful Knight?" Mimi Ow says, are we still going to have a watch party for season 2? Maybe. You know, I haven't heard from the producers this year. Last year, they gave me permission to do it. And this year, I haven't heard from them. So I'm a little hesitant to do it without, you know, direct, explicit permission from the producers of the show. So, I mean, I realize Amazon owns it and Amazon owns Twitch, which is really one of the only reasons I got away with it last year. But I also don't want to get myself in trouble, so I'll reach out to them again and hope I hear back. But if not, probably not. So we'll see. We'll see. Scotty P says, why can't a bike stand up by itself? It's too tired. Thank you. That was great. Wonderful. Alt Grendel gifted 5 Oxhorn memberships to the community. Thank you, Alt Grendel, and congratulations to Casey Beck, Tyson, Bexy's PC, and Gunnar Maroney, and Preston Alexander. Thanks again, Alt Grendel, and congratulations all. Derek May with a very generous super chat says, "Hey Ox, always show support when I can. Thank you, my friend. Ox, I know you did a video on the Great Plague, or The Great Game by Desmond and Calvert. Did you guess who else would be a hit for Desmond? My guess, Lorenzo. House and pre-war think tank. Your thoughts or guess? Thanks, Ox. I did a more recent video on this. I did do an older video where I touched on some of the players of the Great Game back, you know, in the Point Lookout DLC. But I did a recent video back when Season 1 came out where I thoroughly investigated the Great Game and talked about players of it. I touched on Mr. House, I touched on Lorenzo Cabot, and many other people. So if you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to check it out. It's just called The Great Game. Andy the Green says, love your Fallout lore videos. Thank you, Andy the Green. Daniel Knight 2006 says, hey, Ox, just wanted to say I love the videos. Thank you, Daniel Knight. Extremely kind. History's Pages says, in your opinion, what makes a good? A good what? Like a good steak? Ribeye. A good chocolate? Belgian. Or Boems. A good Scotch? Glenfiddich, Laphroaig, Glenlivet, Lagavulin. A good what? Oh, he continues. In your opinion, what makes a good ? I recently got back from Scotland with Scotch. I recently got back from Scotland with an 18-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey from the Royal Mile. Well, I mean, generally, the older the Scotch, the better. So 18 years? That's amazing. I think the oldest Scotch I ever had was, I don't even remember. My brother, for my bachelor party, he treated me to a smoking lounge, and he bought me the oldest cigar they had available, which was a 50-year-old cigar, Cuban, and the oldest Scotch they had, which I think was like 20 or 25 years, and I don't even remember the name, but the older the Scotch it is, the more smooth it gets, and it was so smooth. Like it didn't even feel like Scotch, but it burned like Scotch, right? So it was Scotch. It had all the benefits of Scotch without any of the negatives, right? But I've never heard of Royal Mile, so I plead ignorance on that. I'm going to have to look them up. In terms of Scotch, I think I just answered it without even meaning to, but yeah, Glenfiddich, Laphroaig. I really like Laphroaig. It's a good peaty Scotch. Lagavulin. I forget what else I said. Jake Benz says, good evening, Ox and everyone. Hey there, Jake Benz. Good to see you, my friend. Snoopy Snoopy says, good morning, Ox. How are you today? Do you think becoming a ghoul in Fallout 76 is worth it? It's going to be worth it if you have a particular play style in mind. If radiation in general annoys you, it's worth it. If you don't care about charisma and dialogue checks when playing your character, it's worth it. If you want to be a melee character and you want to make use of the benefits you get from going feral, it might be worth it. So in certain circumstances, if you've got a particular build, even a melee heavy focused build, then it might be worth it. But in general, probably not, right? Like I can't see, like my character is a ranged combat, power armor wearing stealth guy, which I know sounds crazy, but I tend to do that. It's what I did in Oblivion. I made a full armor knight guy who is a stealthy sniper. I don't know, I like that. So that's what I typically do. And being a ghoul for him doesn't really make sense. So I reverted back. Urararur says that new trailer looks tasty, eh? It sure does, Urararur. I thoroughly dissected it in my recent video. Ashbot says, "Hi Ox, East Coast viewer here. Me and my husband are headed to bed soon, but I'm so glad we caught the first half of the stream. My doctor told me I'm going deaf. That was hard to hear." I hope that was a joke and not real. But thank you very much. I hope you and your husband have a wonderful night tonight. Chuck Wynn says, "Howdy Ox, do you think Bethesda will attempt to go back to better storytelling to better storytelling and dialogue like we see in Obsidian's New Vegas and in Fallout 5? So many presumptions there. I love how you just assume that the community has agreed that just Bethesda sucks at storytelling. Like, yeah, it's a well-known fact. Bethesda, they suck at it, right? Listen, there is no greater champion of the storytelling in New Vegas than I. I think that it has exceptional storytelling and world building, and the characters really kind of redefined how characters were done in the Fallout franchise. And Bethesda clearly derived tons of inspiration from the successful things that Obsidian did in New Vegas. The factions, the way they dealt with factions, is the way that Bethesda decided to deal with factions in Fallout 4. The way they dealt with companions is the way that Bethesda chose to deal with companions in Fallout 4. So Bethesda learned a lot of lessons from Obsidian. But Fallout 4 is not objectively a poorly written game. The storytelling in Fallout 4 is not objectively poor. It's different. And some people like it, and some people don't. And no one's wrong. There are plenty of dialogue sequences in Fallout New Vegas that are poorly written or could have been worded better, just like there are in Fallout 4, but one is not necessarily objectively better than the other, even though people have a preference, and that preference is okay. In terms of Fallout 5, I do think Bethesda is going to try and make it as good as they can. Now, we do have some cause for concern, as we've seen Starfield published between, then and when Fallout 5 is going to come out. And despite the many positive things about Starfield, there were some big problems. And some of it had to do with the storytelling as well. I think some of my biggest complaints about Starfield had to do with the storytelling choices that Bethesda made in Starfield. So there is some legitimate concern that we can have for the future of Fallout 5. But it was also a brand new IP, and they were starting from scratch with a new world. There's so much history built up in the Fallout franchise that I have a little bit more confidence that they kind of know where they're going with that and what they want to do with it. So I'm excited to see what they come up with for Fallout 5. The Raging Krogan became a Silver Ox. Thank you so much, The Raging Krogan. Derek May says, Ox, I saw in one of my Fallout groups, a guy said House isn't a genius canon-wise. He just hired geniuses. Your thoughts? He's the Microsoft of Fallout. I mean, yeah, I'm happy to say that. I don't know if I ever walked away from Fallout New Vegas thinking that House was a genius. And I also never saw any evidence that he hired geniuses as well. He was a very good businessman. He aggressively acquired companies that were successful, like Repcon, for example. But, the only person who was responsible for the Platinum chip was House, right? Like he came up with an idea. The only person responsible for creating a ballistic arsenal to defend Vegas with was House. That was his brainchild, right? So there are a lot of things and choices that he made that did originally come from him. Is he a genius? I don't know. Were his employees geniuses? I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. I'm not really interested in arguing that. I don't care if he was a genius or not. I think that he is a survivor, and he is intelligent, and he's completely capable. I think that he loves himself and money and power a bit too much. That is my problem with House. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they take him in season 2. A001 Tom says, hey, so I'm still working on the Dino game and this fan game that is Fallout with Dark Souls. I hope you can play it when it's ready. Oh, you're actually working on your own game. That's great. Well, congratulations, A001 Tom. Good luck to you, my friend. I hope you have great success. Amanda Peterson says, good evening, all. On the unemployment line again, though I have an interview on Tuesday. For your information, Glen in Gaelic means valley. Drink for thought. I shall drink to that thought. Cheers. Amanda Peterson, I read yours. Thank you. The Raging Krogan says, finally back to games besides Oblivion. Did not want it spoiled for me. I have a perfect recommendation for Scotch and Smoke Rings. It's called Madison. Thank you, The Raging Krogan. Yeah, I haven't played Oblivion for several weeks now. Almost 2 months, I think it's been. But the reason I'm not playing a game tonight is because my computer is on the fritz. But I hope to have that resolved by next week. As for Madison, I've had it recommended on the program before. I even bought it and installed it with the intent of playing it. But it's really obtuse. Like the thing with horror puzzle games like that is that the developer should put something in the puzzle that is a breadcrumb that leads you to the answer. And the kind of puzzles in Madison have no breadcrumbs. You just have to just try things and see if they work. There's no way to actually figure it out using deduction. You just have to come up with some random crazy thought and hope that that's also a random crazy thought that they had. And those kind of puzzle games aren't fun for me because I like the deductive process. I like finding the clues and piecing them together to arrive at the answer, not throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. They're two different kinds of puzzles. And those are the puzzles in Madison. So I don't know if I'll revisit it. We'll see. Mobius Ouroboros says, how would you feel about being a writer/director at Bethesda? On one hand, I think I'd really enjoy it. I mean, being involved in a game company has always been a dream of mine. It was more a dream of mine when I was a younger man. I remember back in my World of Warcraft days, I really wanted to be a Blizzard employee. I wanted to be hired by Blizzard. Not necessarily to write, but to direct machinima cutscenes and stuff like that. That's what I really wanted to do. But I'm really glad that never happened, based on what eventually we all ended up learning about Blizzard as a company a couple of years ago. And I was, wanting a job in the industry right about that time when all of that stuff was going on. So I'm really, really grateful and glad that I never had to be involved in any of that or exposed to that. Another thing about working at a gaming company is that you lose a lot of your autonomy. And one of the joys of storytelling is having control over your story. So and I realize I've never earned it, so I would never expect it, right? But if I ever had an opportunity to work for a gaming company, I would want to be at the level of somebody who actually had control over driving the plot. And if I could secure that, then yes, I'd really love that. But as I said, I've never earned it. Like, people spend decades in the trenches at a gaming company being copywriters or social media writers or writing minor bits of dialogue for random characters before they ever get the opportunity to actually direct a game or direct a DLC. And I've never done any of that, so I certainly haven't earned my stripes. So I'll never be able to join a company at that level immediately. But that's kind of what I want. And I probably wouldn't do it if I couldn't. Which is why I'm a YouTuber, because I can do whatever I want as a YouTuber, which I like. So yeah, hope that answered your question. Ranker 1138 says, what kind of killer has two butts? An assassin. Oh, I moved it. Assassin. Assassin. Two butts. Thank you. That was great. Thank you, Ranker 1138. Chuck Wins says, I did like Fallout 4. I was more referring to 76 and Starfield. I really wanted to like Starfield, but was underwhelmed. Here's to a good Fallout 5. You know, even with Fallout 76, the writing in the original version of Fallout 76 before Wastelanders was really good. The narrative flaw that they made with Fallout 76 was making everything dead. And on one hand, I'm impressed by the bravery of that decision because I can't imagine very many people would ever have made that narrative choice. Yes, we're going to make a massive multiplayer game and every person you meet is going to be a ghost. They're all dead. They're disembodied voices, just robots and ghosts. Because people don't want that. Like, they want to be immersed in a world, and worlds are filled with people and creatures, and to have them all dead is a big bummer. And that was one of the major complaints people had with Fallout 76, which is, of course, is why they cured the Scorched Plague in Wastelanders, right? But aside from that narrative point, the actual writing that was done, the storytelling, the creation of the factions of Taggarty's Thunder, the creation of the Secretary of Agriculture's Enclave was all really well written and thoughtfully made. So there was a lot of good stuff in Fallout 76. There was just that big blunder, right? And then there's the big blunder in Starfield that and spoilers for those of you who haven't played Starfield, I'm going to briefly talk about it. I'm going to give you a thumbs up when I'm done doing spoilers. But what I've always been bummed about with is the way that Starfield ended with the New Game Plus, how you're really just the center of the universe again. And in order to get the full ending, to really explore the world, you got to go back in time and meet all of the characters all over again and build all of your bases all over again and visit all of the worlds all over again and do everything you've already done all over again to get the full story. That was what we chose to write in this plot. I felt that was just such a bad choice. And I realized that it's what many games are doing now, and I don't like that direction. I don't think New Game Plus as a way to further the plot is ever a good choice. New Game Plus should be for things like unlocking new skins and unlocking new weapons and abilities and stuff like that, not for hiding the plot behind a second playthrough. That, I think, was their big mistake. So they try. Okay, I'm done, everybody. If you want, I'm done with the spoilers. So yeah, they made that mistake in Starfield as well. And it was a huge narrative blunder, even though there were some really well-written things as well. I enjoyed a number of the factions, some of them less so than others. Like the Free States, I didn't enjoy quite as much. But there were a number of other factions that were really well done. So yeah, I just hope they don't... I hope they try to stay authentic to the Fallout universe without trying to be too novel. Because I fear like if they try to be too novel, they're going to just do something out of left field that is crazy, like have everyone dead or restart time, and then it's just going to suck. And I don't want them to do that. That's how I feel about Fallout 5, and I hope they don't do that. The Raging Krogan says, one thing I can't stand in the Fallout series is invalidate the player decisions in the show by calling it canon, house still alive, NCR destroyed, etc. Yeah, I talked about that in my show last week, and then I published a short where I talked about that today. And, you know, there are many people in the comments of that short who disagreed with me and said that they actually really like it when they find a canonical ending to one of the games because it's the only way that you can further a story. And that is true. Like, if you want to continue to use the same factions and many of the same characters set in the same place, then your only option is to canonize an ending and further the timeline, which of course is why they do it. My argument is that while that can be really interesting, and clearly they've liked it, which is why they've done it, and we all still love Fallout, and we still play it, my preference is that not happen, because it does undermine the legitimacy of player choice. And player choice is such an important part of an open world single player game. If they were to do it over again, which of course they never will, but if they were to do it over again, I would want a new Fallout game set in the same time in a different place, right? And we've only explored the coasts. We've gone up and down the East Coast. We've gone up and down the West Coast. We briefly visited the Midwest in a game that's only partially canon. We briefly visited Texas in a game that is no longer canon. There's a huge swath of U.S. territory that has never been explored in any Fallout game, and we could have been exploring any of that in other installments of Fallout without ever having to worry about messing up the timeline and messing up the factions and canonizing endings by setting the next game too close to previous games, and so we have to push the timeline forward in time. But that, of course, is not the choice they made. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have made that choice personally, but I've still been enjoying the storytelling that they've done. Foxtails9 says, what are your thoughts on Fallout remasters, Ox? Well, my thoughts on remasters in general are that I don't want a remaster if I don't need a remaster. Because I've already got the game, right? So this comes up when people talk about remastering Fallout 3. And my view has always been, I've played Fallout 3. I have Fallout 3. I can still play Fallout 3. I love the game. I don't need it remastered. But then I remember that there are so many people, because it's a Bethesda game, who can't play Fallout 3 because they can't get it to work on their machine, or they can't play the original isometric interplay Fallouts, right? Or they can't get New Vegas to work. So for them, having a remastered version of the game is really going to be their only opportunity to ever play the game. And for that reason, I support remasters to upgrade the technology to modern day so that more people can enjoy those universes. Scoopy Snoopy says, I go a good whiskey, but it's 5 a.m. in the morning here in Scotland. Coffee will need to do. Yeah, no, I get you. Coffee at 5 a.m. is the appropriate choice, even if you're in Scotland, the home of good Scotch. would be a bit rough to be drinking that early in the morning. Steel 101 says, after playing New Vegas and Fallout 4 so many times, like over 1,000 hours, I would say that both main stories are a solid 8 out of 10. Also, I love the Captain America background for Nate. Yeah, I would as well. It's hard to beat something like Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a 10 out of 10. Like, how can you do better than that? It's just so well done. New Vegas and Fallout 4 are both good. I don't know if I would where I would rank them in terms of a numerical ranking. But with Fallout New Vegas, I actually didn't like it that well until I played it a second time. And that's because the first time I played Fallout New Vegas, just after playing Fallout 4 for the first time, I was really only focused on the gameplay and the world. And the world was glitchy. And there were bugs and reused assets and weird gameplay mechanics that I wasn't familiar with. And by the time I beat the game, the first time I sided with Yes Man, I didn't really understand the story, and I was, nonplussed. I'm like, well, I'll just play Fallout 4 again. That was way more fun. The second time I played Fallout New Vegas, I started paying attention to the story, and I finally understood the conflict between Caesar's Legion and the NCR, and I finally understood the long history of the NCR going all the way back to Shady Stands, and I finally was able to wrap my head around Mr. House and who he was and why he was invested in Vegas. And once I got all of that by going to every location and playing every side quest and talking to every character, I began to appreciate the meticulous world building that they did in New Vegas. And I was able to overlook the, glitchy world and the reused assets. And many of these things are just due to the nature of using a game built on Bethesda technology. But I was able to overlook a lot of that and thoroughly enjoy my time playing Fallout New Vegas. Mobius Ouroboros says, what we learned about Blizzard, you have my curiosity piqued. What's the deal with Blizzard? Well, I mean, it's something you can Google. I've known many wonderful people at Blizzard, still know lots of wonderful people at Blizzard. But there was news that came out a couple of years ago about how Blizzard was a bit of a boys' club at the time, and women felt sexually objectified by some of the other male developers and employees at Blizzard, and that they would do inappropriate jokes and stuff like that, which is really disappointing to hear about, right? From a company that you admired, and it sort of sullies the memory you have of playing games that were such a huge part of your childhood, right? So that was a big disappointment. And a lot of those stories happened at around the time that I was kind of hoping to get a job at Blizzard myself, which I never did. I never got a job at Blizzard. And now I'm kind of glad I didn't. A001 Tom says, good night, Oxhorn. I can't wait to see your vid in the morning. For me also, as an independent developer, it's hard to do that without of the money. It takes time. To do that without the money, it takes time. Okay, well, again, good luck to you with your game development. I envy your ability to be able to make your own game. It's something I've always wanted to do. I wrote a book many years ago, but I've never been able to make my own game. Well, I take that back. I made a couple of games with RPG Maker for the PlayStation 1 way back in the day, like in the 90s, and that was a lot of fun. But like a legitimate real game that I sold on Steam, I've never done anything like that. I'd love to do it someday, so I'm really impressed by you. I'm proud of you. Good luck with your efforts. Amanda Peterson gifted 5 Oxhorn memberships to the community. Thank you, Amanda Peterson. And congratulations to Mr. Skunk Nugget, Sean, your boyfriend, Pat DeBro, and Hugh Jass. That's 2 words, Hugh Jass. Thank you very much, Amanda Peterson. Vampiric Jess says, Ox, I have to say I personally have faction fatigue with the Brotherhood of Steel. I know they'll likely be in Fallout 5, even though I don't want them to be. That's how I feel, right? I feel like at this point, it's going to be impossible to publish a Fallout game without the Brotherhood of Steel because they've set the expectation. But I felt the same way when Fallout 4 came out. I didn't really want to see the Brotherhood of Steel again. When the Fallout show came out, I didn't really want to see the Brotherhood of Steel again. When Fallout 76 was announced, I was like, how could they possibly have the Brotherhood of Steel in this game? And lo and behold, they found a way to do it. So I also have gotten faction fatigue. And it's not that I dislike the Brotherhood of Steel. It depends on the faction. I think they're interesting. But I want new stuff, right? Power armor was a pre-war military armor. And anyone can use a pre-war military armor. The Enclave has used it. The Brotherhood of Steel has used it. Raiders have used it. I want to see more heavily armored, militarized factions in other places around America, not Brotherhood of Steel dominance above all. The idea of a technology cult is really cool, and I'm glad they explored that idea. But wouldn't it be cool to find out what other ideas they could come up with for highly militarized, types of organizations and factions that have a military structure, they have soldiers, and they use power armor? That'd be great. So yeah, I also suffer from faction fatigue. That's a great way to put it. The Raging Krogan says they could have said it was an alternate timeline. Oh God. I think if they were ever to do an alternate timeline sort of thing, I would just drop out of the franchise as a fan. Like, I don't want this to turn into an Avengers sort of Marvel thing. Like, Marvel's done that. They've got their Marvel universes, and Deadpool explored it in all of their movies and all of that jazz, and I don't want to do that again. Like, it's a clever way to get around lazy writing. Because there are, in something as big as Marvel that has spanned so many decades as Marvel has, you've had so many different comic book writers, so many different artists, so many different mediums, so many different movies that it's kind of impossible to reconcile them all without having something like a cinematic universe and an alternate timeline in order to weave them all together and make them all equally important. So I think that them using it was really clever. But for every fictional IP to use something like that, alternate timelines, to weave together bad writing. It's just, it gets tired and it gets tedious, and I don't want to see that in Fallout. I don't want to see alternate timelines for the same reason I don't want to see time travel, because it just brings up more problems than it fixes. I don't like it. Derek May says, do you like the connections between Fallout 2 and New Vegas? I enjoy seeing the NCR try to rebuild the waste. Or do you prefer Fallout 3 and Fallout 4? Just wasteland and no one in 200 years has cleaned any, lol. Well, I wouldn't say that it's fair to say that in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, there wasn't somebody trying to rebuild society. The Brotherhood of Steel clearly was. But they weren't rebuilding it in the same way that the NCR was. The NCR was creating a new government with the ultimate goal of giving everybody a vote, giving everybody a voice in how that government is built. The Brotherhood of Steel is trying to rebuild civilization with them at the top and them ruling it. And there's a huge difference. But they are still trying to rebuild civilization. But for my money, I prefer the NCR, of course, and I really enjoy the way that Interplay and Obsidian tied together Fallouts 1, 2, and New Vegas, and really made the NCR kind of the faction that swam between all three of those games, uniting them, tying together pieces of lore. And of course, this kind of goes in contrary to what I was saying earlier about how I didn't like having canonical endings. And I don't, but the nice thing about having canonical endings to games so that you can advance the plot in the next game is seeing a faction grow, seeing a character grow. And there's something to be said for that. And I do enjoy seeing that happen. So, you know, yeah, I think I would prefer the way they did it in New Vegas. Steel 101 says, I told a joke on a Zoom meeting and nobody laughed. Turns out that I'm not even remotely funny. Well done, my friend. Well done, Steel 101. Love it. Every time you have a new joke and that I've never heard before after all this time. Dark Lord, a member for 21 months and a bronze ox with a super tip. Thank you so much, Dark Lord. Colonel 87th says, finally, just scotch and smoke rings, just like the old times. Yeah, this is a callback to the old times. No game today until my computer gets back. Just me and the cigar. Though I don't have time to smoke it because my mouth is moving too much. Jonathan H., a member for 31 months and a silver ox, says, I hope they add a little Oxhorn Easter egg in the form of Oxhorn power armor in the next Fallout or in the possible Fallout 3 and New Vegas remasters. If they do that, I'll have to sit down and write a scathing video about how much an Oxhorn brand power armor would not fit in the Fallout universe and how it violates canon. And I would, because they should never do that. As much as I would be, you know, happy about the Easter egg and the reference, it violates canon. So no Oxhorn power armor, thank you. Amanda Peterson says, I was in Q&A for a video game company and a producer wouldn't even look me in the eyes when I was talking. He's still a producer to this day? Oh, because, for a minute there I didn't understand why. Was it because he was shy? But no, because he was looking elsewhere and he couldn't. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a bummer. It's a frustrating thing. And what we learned about Blizzard really disappointed me because I respected Blizzard as a company for a very long time. Thankfully, to my knowledge, we haven't heard anything like that about Bethesda, which is so great because I love Bethesda. I criticize Bethesda all the time for gameplay choices and narrative choices and engine choices. And then I celebrate Bethesda all the time for the things that I love. And I would so be brokenhearted to have to criticize Bethesda because of something sleazy like that. And I'm so glad that has never happened, and I hope it never does. I'm so disappointed that it happened to Blizzard, or that Blizzard perpetuated that, and I'm so sad that it happened to you as well. Christopher Estrada says, how would you feel if the Brotherhood in the show ended up repairing the broken down blimps that crashed in the Midwest? Interesting. Well, on one hand, I guess in principle, I wouldn't have any problem with it. On the other, I think it would be a huge waste of resources because they're so far away that traveling all the way to Chicago or to the neighborhood of Chicago to retrieve the wreckage and then hauling all of that material back to the West Coast just to rebuild it, it would take so much time and so much money and so many resources that it just wouldn't make sense. It would make way more sense for them to just make new blimps from scratch. They made the blimps from scratch to begin with, or actually maybe they didn't. Maybe they were pre-war Zeppelins and airships that they retrofitted. I don't know. They never clarify that in Fallout Tactics, so we don't know either. But if the Brotherhood has the capacity to create new airships, which they clearly do by the time of the Fallout show, because in Fallout 4 they created their own airships, then I think it would just be more financially feasible for them to make new ones, rather than go find the wreckages in the Midwest. All right. Time to relight my cigar. The Raging Krogan says, by the way, the channel Dark Lore Dash, who also makes lore videos for a bunch of different games, said he took inspiration from you. I enjoy his videos too. Well, that's extremely kind, and I love that. I'll have to look him up after the broadcast. It's so cool that there are other lore tubers out there that are familiar with what I've done and that I've inspired them. I've toyed with the idea of doing lore for other games, and maybe I will sometime. I have done lore for a couple other games like L.A. Noire and so on. But there's just something about the Fallout universe that I'm still interested in talking about. And I'm only one man and I only have so much time. So if I'm going to talk about a game, it might as well be a game I'm passionate about. And I'm still passionate about Fallout. So you're stuck with me talking about Fallout until I get bored with it, which hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it never does. Vampiric Jess says, I'm also getting a tattoo on the 10th, which is a pirate tattoo from Grand Theft Auto Online with slight changes to it. Didn't think I'd get one from a GTA game, lol. Well, good luck to you, my friend, and congratulations. You've got the date on the calendar. You're set. You're ready to go. And it sounds like something that means a lot to you, so I'm happy for you. Devin Byron says, would you kindly play Fallout Bakersfield? Maybe. I believe it's been recommended to me before. I would love to have time to sit down and go through all of the Fallout mods. The mods that create big, sprawling Fallout stories. I haven't had the time recently, but I would love to. I mean, Fallout London was amazing, right? And if that's any indication, then there's got to be lots of others that are just as amazing. Brother Mike says, possible battle for New Vegas in the show? Well, definitely a battle. Is it a battle for New Vegas, like a faction trying to take over it? Maybe. From the footage that we saw of the battle that was waged on the Strip, it looked like there were few people involved. It was mainly the main characters and a Deathclaw, a Securitron here and there. We didn't see any NCR troops. We didn't see any Brotherhood troops, though there was a scene of one Brotherhood troop fighting a Securitron, though that was an indoor location, possibly a factory, not the streets of New Vegas. So if that was a depiction of some huge and the only huge fight in Vegas, then I don't think it's a fight to take over Vegas. I think it was just a different kind of fight. But will they try to take it over? I don't know. It depends on how many resources Vegas has. If the Brotherhood finds out that Vegas has technology that they want, then yes, the Brotherhood will come in force. And if House is still alive, he's going to defend his stuff. So maybe it's inevitable. Rodney says, that's not a cigar, that's a heavyweight torpedo. It's a chunky one. I like it. Mad Monk says, hey Oxhorn, now that I'm 21, I got my first cigars. I enjoy Sweet Jane. Any suggestions? I'm not familiar with the brand Sweet Jane, but if you really want to pursue cigars as a hobby, my recommendation is to go for hand-rolled cigars, not machine-made cigars. And it's tricky to find hand-rolled cigars at gas stations. You usually have to go to a cigar shop or buy them online, because hand-rolled cigars are just going to be such a more pleasant experience than anything you could buy at a gas station. I would also try to find something that isn't artificially sweetened. There are some cigars, especially the kinds you find at gas stations, where they take like a sugar paste and they paste the outside wrapper with the sugar paste so that when it touches your lips, you taste the sweet and you go, oh, that's sweet, right? And what they do is it's a way to sort of mask the laziness of the construction. So if you taste a cigar and it tastes sweet, you know that something is fishy. A good cigar is going to have its own flavor, and that flavor will have matured over time based on the way that the manufacturers chose to age the tobacco leaves. Sometimes it'll be nutty. Sometimes it'll be spicy. Sometimes it'll be chocolatey, right? They can get a cigar to taste a variety of ways. Sometimes it'll even taste fruity, depending on the way they chose to age the tobacco inside. And that's the joy of cigars. That's actually where the connoisseur will begin to appreciate cigars. And I'm not at that level because my sense of taste is stunted. I can't taste things very well. I mainly just enjoy playing with the smoke, really. But if you want to be a connoisseur of cigars, try and go for the hand-rolled stuff. Try and go for stuff that's highly rated by Cigar Aficionado, and stay away from gas stations. That would be my recommendation. Mark from Sales gifted 10 Oxhorn memberships to the community. Thank you, Mark from Sales. And congratulations to Devin Byron, House and Uno, Zombie Elf, Steel 101, Dirty Bird Person, Sir Slicer, Yorha UA, Dane Settle, Johnny Ramirez, and Derek. Thanks again, Mark from Sales. Ninjin13 on Twitch says, hey Oxhorn, been a while since I last watched ya. Work taken up my life. Was watching your old machinima on YouTube. Good old We Three Dwarves, lol. Do you think you'll ever do more songs like that again? Probably not. I would love to. And I tried incorporating more music in my Fallout lore videos, particularly when I was doing my series on Fallout New Vegas, and even in some of my other series like Wastelanders, for example, I tried to incorporate music, and that was a lot of fun, but it doesn't pay the bills. It allows me to be creative, and I enjoy that artistic creativity, but it doesn't pay. And if I ever get to a point where my primary goal with my channel is being free to express myself artistically and not to pay the bills, then I might start doing more music videos and things like that. But at the moment, as it's my only source of income, primary source of income, I need to focus on what works. And what works is lore. Thankfully, I really enjoy lore. So that's where my focus is now. Joshua Peterson says, I like Romeo and Juliet's, but I'm about to light my first brick house. Hey, Joshua, I hope you enjoy it. Romeo and Juliet's are also really good. Devin Byron says, it's Doom. Perfect for a chill night, sir. Enjoy playing some Doom. Excellent chill night gaming. Jonathan H. says, don't forget the Metro games. You've done a little bit of lore for those during your playthroughs. Severely underrated game series, in my opinion. Metro, of course, is excellent, which is why I've streamed myself playing all of the Metro games live. But the thing with the Metro games is that they're all really linear, with the exception of Metro Exodus, which does have an open world style bit of gameplay in certain sections. But for all of the others, every person's experience is going to be very similar. And so it's difficult to tell a story, to find a need for a YouTuber to retell the lore of that story when the game is so linear and everyone was just on rails going through the exact same plot that you went through. So I'm not really sure that Metro is going to be right for a lore channel like mine, as awesome as those games are. Colonel 87th says, in Fallout 4, one vertibird can carry an entire encampment full of over and coveredness. And we're all about Fallout 4 here. That's why I'm here. Colonel 87th, I appreciate your contribution, but I must confess that the purpose of your comment is lost on me as I'm unable to decipher your text. Yeah. I mean, pardon me, in Fallout 4, one vertibird can carry four troops, not an entire encampment, right? You've got the pilot, you've got the co-pilot, and then you've got maybe an engineer and 2 knights. So 4 or 5 guys. Is that an entire encampment? But how that connects to the final sentence in your message, I'm not exactly sure. Walter Figen says, Oxhorn, are you going to look into the Fallout lore of Vault 18? Maybe. Vault 18 escapes my mind at the moment. Did we learn about Vault 18? Vault 17 was the one that Lily came from, right? Vault 8 was, of course, Vault City. Vault 18? I don't remember a Vault 18. I'll have to look it up. Derek May says, last ones, Ox. Do you think lore-wise it'll be easier to say everyone lost New Vegas? We saw the strip was bad off. The courier might be a lobotomite. Or in Zion. Also, would you like to see the Gek in the show? Yeah, I do have a problem with that, though. It would be easier from a producer's perspective to tell the story they want to tell if they respond to the end of New Vegas by saying, all of the endings are wrong, here's what really happened. The problem with that is if they choose to do that, we're all going to feel robbed. We're going to feel like we didn't get the ending we should have gotten in New Vegas. We didn't even get a chance to choose the right ending, the one that actually happened, because that wasn't available to us in the game. We're all going to feel robbed. And I think Bethesda gets that, right? I think they get that. So I don't think they're going to allow the developers to do something like that. I could be completely wrong, because I never thought they would do to Shady Sands what they did. But I don't think they would allow the developers to do that. Now, honestly, I think they're probably just going to have to give us a canonical ending to Fallout 4. There are a variety of things that could have happened to the courier, but for the exact same reasons, I don't think they're going to expound upon those. They're not going to talk about the courier. They might mention in passing the courier like they did the Chosen One in Fallout New Vegas. There are a few characters, like Marcus, for example, at Jacobstown, who briefly mentions the Vault Dweller, not by name. He's like, yeah, I walked with someone for a while, went to an oil rig, never saw him again, but for some reason, I think things turned out all right. You know, they mentioned him or her, and then they didn't really talk much about it, gave nothing definitive, so it didn't really change anything about our gameplay of Fallout 2. That was a great way to address the protagonist of Fallout 2. They might do something like that in the show while mentioning the courier, but to have like a definitive ending to the courier, oh, he became a lobotomite, oh, he got lost at the Sierra Madre, or he never came back from the Lonesome Road, he died in Hopesville, something like that. No, they'll never do anything like that because it would piss everybody off. They'll never do that. But never say never. I guess you never know. Never. As for the Gek, yes, I would love to see the Gek later. I think the Gek is such a powerful tool that I really want it to be given a place of prominence. So I think later down in the series, maybe series 4 or 5, that's when they should introduce the Gek. Brother Mike says, my theory is that House beat the NCR. They brought the fight to the strip. Hence, they crashed NCR vertibirds, and all the commotion drew out the death claws in Quarry Junction, causing Mr. House to retreat. It's a great theory, and it's supported by evidence. Love it. Walter Figen says, of course. Of course. Why didn't I expect it? Oh my God. Walter Figen says Vault 18, Fallout New California courier backstory. Right. So Walter is the guy I excoriated last week for always bringing up the mod Fallout New California, and Vault 18 is from Fallout New California. So he brought it up again, just in a very obscure way. Well done, Walter. You did it. I'm still annoyed with you, by the way. But well done. Good job. Devin Byron says, Bakersfield, the mod for Doom. It's Fallout? Right, I don't know anything about it, so I don't know what you're talking about. I'll have to Google it later. Colonel 87th says, being over encumbered, you can call a vertibird. Yeah? Is that bad? Is that unrealistic? Do you not like that? I mean, planes can carry more than we can carry. Helicopters can carry more than we can carry. So I don't see it as being unrealistic to be able to board a vertibird while encumbered. Mobius Ouroboros says, joke time. Dad came into the house and called out for his son. Dad said, Joseph. Joseph replied, I'm coming. Dad replied, you better not be. Is that a dirty joke? Mobius. I mean, it would be one thing if it was a dirty joke that was funny, but that was just not funny. It was just lazy. If you're going to do a dirty joke, it's got to be really witty and clever, not just sort of like, oh, you better not be. Nice attempt. Nice attempt. Thank you, my friend. Colonel 87 says, me/text to speak on my phone are about to fight. Yeah, sorry. I wish I knew what you were trying to say there at the end. Text to speech can be pretty bad. Yeah, pretty rough. Cat 5 became a bronze ox and a member for 49 months. Thank you so much, Cat 5. Oh my God. How has it been an hour already? I feel like I just sat down. You guys, you have such excellent questions. I lose track of time. It's already been an hour? How? Wow. All right. We'll do five more minutes or so because I feel like I haven't had a chance to smoke and drink anything. So 5 more minutes and then we'll go. Walter Figen says, Fallout New California is a good game. A lot better than Fallout Frontier. I wish it had the support to make it a full complete DLC like a mod. Hey, Walter, I like trains. I love trains. I love coal-powered trains better than electric trains. Have you ever ridden a coal-powered train? Coal-powered trains are amazing. They make a choo-choo noise. You can listen to it better if you go to the front of the train. It goes choo-choo, and you can put your head out the window and feel the wind in your hair. I love it so much, Walter. I love it. Trains. Trains. Robert Downs says, what drink and smoke is on the list tonight? Tonight is a brick cigar, Churchill-sized cigar. We are drinking 12-year-old Glenfiddich. Did I say Glenfiddich? I think so. And some Kraken rum and coke. B-Zab says, Zahiox, do you think the tunnelers from the Lonesome Road DLC eventually tunneled their way to the Mojave/New Vegas? Thanks, mate. It's an interesting thought. I don't think they did. I think it would be very Deus Ex Machina if they did something like that, especially in the show. Because there are so many people who didn't play the DLCs to the Lonesome Road, and they're just these strange monsters that don't exist anywhere else. And to have them pop up and be the source for the destruction of New Vegas would it would feel weird. It would just feel really weird. So I don't, even though it's possible, and I know they're a real thing, a canonical thing in the Lonesome Road DLC, I don't think they're going to do that. That Colin guy says, Ox, what is your go-to pizza topping? Cheers. I mean, meat lovers, sausage and pepperoni, sometimes a little bit of Canadian bacon, the politest bacon. Yeah, I'm pretty boring when it comes to pizza. I like my meats and cheeses. That's about it. Pickles, the Junkyard Cat says, can I get a shout out from my girlfriend, Ashley? Thanks, Ox. Much love, buddy. You betcha. Shout out to Ashley. You pick the good ones, Ashley. I'm glad you're both here tonight. Thanks for watching. Devin Byron says, I wonder if Mr. House is dead, AI, or alive. Thoughts? Interesting. I never considered the possibility that he could be dead, but an AI version of him lives somewhere. I'm guessing he's alive. If I have to guess based on what we saw in the trailer, I'm guessing he's alive. But we'll find out. Jonathan H. says, funny story, since I live on Mount Desert Island, I finally had a tourist ask about places from the game they can visit. Lol. I don't know why that made me happy. That's great. All these years later, you finally get a Fallout Far Harbor fan who goes to Mount Desert Island. Alt Grendel says, if this repair thing drags on, maybe consider building a new gaming PC. Alt Grendel, I mean, yeah, I'm not going to stop gaming, right? Of course, if for some reason my other PC blows up, I will build another one, but that's the last resort. I'm not going to ship it off and look at my watch and go, man, it's been 5 minutes and they're really taking their time. I'm just going to go drop another couple $1,000s and get a new PC. So I'm going to let them do their thing, however long it takes. And if they can't figure it out, then yeah, I'll build a new PC. Brother Mike says, what are your predictions for the direction in Season 2? I put down all of my predictions based on what we saw from the trailer in the video that I published a week ago today. So you should check that out. Basically, I think House is the canonical ending to Fallout 2, essentially. We're going to see the NCR. We're going to see the Legion. We're going to see a lot of places that we saw in New Vegas the entire season. I'm really excited and a little anxious, but more excited than anything. Colonel 87th says, rebuild one vertibird. You can move the entire Pridwin being over encumbered. Oh, that ties in with your encumbered comment. Just shove it all into your pocket and call the vertibird. That's how Fallout 4 works. That's what I'm saying. I see. Okay. Infinite pockets is like you can become encumbered, but nothing ever stops you from just filling up your inventory forever. Right. Well, I mean, it's a game mechanic. And when it comes to lore, we have to separate game mechanics from lore because the two don't necessarily always go together. Ascension Wave says, Kia ora from New Zealand. Have a coffee on me and can't wait to see your reactions to Season 2. Thank you, Ascension Wave from New Zealand. I will enjoy that coffee. Vampiric Jess says, forgot to mention, please play Resident Evil Code Veronica if it gets remade. I need to see your cringe reactions to some of the game. I might have to. You know, I love the Resident Evil games, so if they remake it, yeah, I definitely will. Mark from Sales says, confirmed, new Oxhorn pizza topping at 2 million subs. Okay, all right, fine. 2 million subs, I'll eat a pizza. Sure, it'll be Meat Lovers Pizza. It's confirmed. Does that do it for you? Like, is that what you wanted? I don't know. Does that make you excited, Mark? Maybe we'll all eat pizza together. Devin Byron says, wouldn't the microbes kill, etc., kill him? Yeah, if you release him from the chamber. The game says that in about a year or so, he's going to die due to all of the microbes that descend upon him once you open the sealed chamber. But there are versions of the game where you don't open the sealed chamber, including the house version of the game. So if that's the canonical ending, then it's possible he's still alive, physically alive in his chamber. All right, everybody, I'm going to call it now. Thanks so much for coming to today's episode of Scotch and Smoke Rings. It's been an hour and almost 10 minutes. Had an absolute blast. Always love seeing each and every one of you and talking about my favorite hobby in the world, because I can't talk about the stuff with my family. They don't understand, right? Even my kids, they're too young for Fallout. They get video games, so they understand why I geek out, but they're too young for Fallout, so I can't really talk to them about it. I mean, could you imagine me talking to my kids about a nuclear apocalypse? It probably wouldn't be appropriate just yet. So you're really the only people I can talk about my favorite hobby with. So I'm glad you're here. I had a lot of fun. Hope you did too. I've got a new video I'm probably going to publish on Saturday morning. And other than that, I'll see you next week. Same Ox time, same Ox channel. Bye-bye now.